Happy Halloween, everyone! It's a night of fear, monsters, tricks, and treats. But unfortunately, the world's on fire, so most of us aren't doing that. Though I'm usually busy around this time. Demons show up at my house to steal my stuff. Hey Ash, how's security going?
Enjoy your sleigh!
Oh, that's great. Well, just because Halloween is over doesn't mean that we're done here. You see, I've decided that for each holiday, I'm going to be reviewing an issue of Batman, The Long Halloween.
Why? 1, I thought that'd be fun. 2, there is a lot that goes down in this story, so I'm just gonna do it in separate parts, then instead of trying to cram it all down in one video.
Before we begin though, I do want to acknowledge one elephant in the room, that being that Jeff Loeb, the writer of this story, is a massive racist. Yeah, this sucks. But I feel like the story's been around long enough that we could actually separate the art from the artist.
Warning, I am covering the entire first issue. There will be spoilers. Now, our Long Halloween, surprisingly, does not start on Halloween, but in June.
Don't you hate false advertisement?
Bruce is invited by mob boss Carmine the Roman Falcone to attend the wedding of his nephew Johnny. He hopes because of their family history that Bruce would help with a money laundering scheme, but this is Bruce Wayne we're talking about, so he says no. Falcone is disappointed but chooses not to have his men, go all Tom Hagen and try to persuade Bruce, still believing that his plan will go out without a hitch, though he admits that Bruce would have sped up the process. Bruce tries to listen in on the scheme, but he is caught by Alberto Falcone, Carmine's son. He lies and says he was just lost, but it is made very clear that Alberto is not buying it. He tries to inform his father, but Carmine doesn't really listen to him and instead focuses more on DA Harvey Dent snooping around.
Huh. I just realized I've done like 3 Batman stories, and now all 3 of them have had Two-Face play a role in it in some degree. Well, okay, technically 4 if we want to count that one line in Kingdom Come.
While at the wedding, Bruce runs into Selina Kyle, clearly there to greet the newlyweds and not planning at all to rob them. The two chat it up and even have a dance, which catches the eye of Carmen's sister, Johnny's mother, Carla Vitti, who seems to have a lot of control over her son and seems to have a rocky relationship with her brother. After that, Bruce and Selina find Harvey in the parking garage after he's jumped by Falcone's men and tries to help him. Harvey's polite but clearly sees Bruce as another Gotham elite who doesn't really care for people like him, who started with nothing. The 3 split up, with Harvey meeting with Gordon, while Bruce and Selina leave to only meet again as Batman and Catwoman, who both kind of get in the way of their jobs. Batman was trying to find more information regarding Falcone's plan, while Selina was just trying to rob his safe. The 2 fight, which leads to Falcone's men being aware of it, and well, yeah, it leads to a hasty escape. Falcone's pretty pissed off, and it doesn't help that his rival, Sal the Boss Maroni, witnessed the aftermath. Meanwhile, Batman tries to get info from Catwoman, thinking that maybe she had something to do with whatever Falcone's planning, but she escapes. Later, Batman, Gordon, and Harvey meet up at the GCPD about how they're going to deal with Falcone, which leads to the 3 agreeing that they will stop him by bending the rules, but never breaking them. Batman leaves classic Batman fashion, but leaves a ledger that he grabbed from Falcone's house.
Not sure how he got that since he was fighting Selina and then the mobsters, but okay.
One of the first big victories the 3 get is Batman able to intimidate one of Falcone's associates to keep his money out of the bank. Jump to September, the same man is murdered by Johnny, by orders of his uncle. Meanwhile, we see someone tampering with a pistol, making it where it'll become untraceable, and taking a nipple from a baby bottle as a makeshift silencer. We then see Gordon and Harvey being told about the assassination, though with Harvey, he's informed after his wife Gilda is told about it. When she tells him, we do see Harvey in his basement with a familiar tool set. Jumping ahead to Halloween night, we find someone breaking into Johnny's home and while he's taking a bath, murders him via gunshot to the head, leaving only an untraceable gun, a destroyed nipple, and a small jack-o'-lantern. These would be the calling cards of who would be known in the story as the Holiday Killer. Batman, Dent, and Gordon try to figure out who could have done it, but Batman is then distracted when he sees Catwoman again spying on them. Catwoman offers Batman in exchange for a favor information, which leads to a warehouse full of Falcone's money that Batman and Harvey would then burn as another way to cripple his empire. Things are looking up, but then Harvey's house blows up with him and his wife in it, ending issue 1. Do they survive? Can Batman trust Catwoman? And who is the Holiday Killer?
Check in next time when we go to Thanksgiving. Same bat time, same bat channel.
This is a pretty solid beginning of the story. It's made to be a sequel to Batman Year One, which is obvious from both the character's appearance, like Falcone having scars on his face after Catwoman scratched him up in the end of that story. It also has some very clear influences from stories like The Godfather, especially with how the mobsters are written. As for the characters, this is a pretty good jumping on point for new readers. Batman in here is still working on both being a hero and trusting of others. As the story goes on, he talks about how he believes in Harvey and Jim. We saw hints of Batman and Harvey's relationship in Year One, but in here we see it in full and it's pretty interesting. As for Harvey Dent, I have to say for a DA, I got some noir detective vibes from him. He's a kind man, but clearly seen some things that have toughened him up, and explains why he views Bruce the way he does. It's neat. Though it's pretty obvious of where Harvey's story is going to be going, it's very interesting because we really get to learn more about Harvey's life as the story goes on. Jim Gordon here is pretty much the middleman, as it is very clear that he has grown more wiser from his more naive nature in Year One. He's really grown to trust Batman after saving his son in the end of that story, and after Falcone tried to kill his son, yeah, you bet he is out to get him. Selina is definitely the more complete out of the protagonists in the story, at least when it comes to her personality. She seems to know exactly who she is, what she's about, and just owns it. And how her and Bruce's relationship goes is pretty interesting. Their moments together remind me more of a 007 film, which is pretty cool. She doesn't exactly trust Bruce or Batman, but you definitely get this sense that there is chemistry between the two, and that there could be something that comes in later naturally. Finally, we got the Falcone family, which, as I mentioned before, Loeb clearly took inspiration from The Godfather when writing them. Carmine is essentially Vito Corleone if he was more cold-blooded. Johnny is Luca Brasi, though a bit more dim-witted. And Alberto, though shows to not be clueless, the way they treat him, yeah, they seem as Alfredo. Then there's Carla, as I mentioned before, has a rocky relationship with her brother, and there are talks that she's actually planning to overthrow him. Hell, in some point she's made it very clear that yes, she does intend on doing so someday. Hell, along with Maroni, she is one of the first suspects to be the Holiday Killer, though with the victim being her son, and seeing how close the two were, they're not entirely sure she would go that far. Who knows? As for the other characters like Sal Maroni, Gilda Dent, or Gordon's family, though they're in the first issue, they don't get to do too much, but when they do show up, you do get a strong sense of what they're all about, at least with Maroni and Gilda. Maroni, who is obviously Falcone's rival and is trying to take him down, and then there's Gilda, who seems very fragile and constantly worrying about her husband's safety. Next, we got the art by Tim Sales, which is a very beautiful sight. It really has this great flow and elegance to it, but at the same time being rough and gritty. Some body parts are a little exaggerated, but I'll get more into that issue when we come into, later parts of the story. The colors by Gregory Wright, and man, it is just eye-popping. It's very clear that they're trying to emulate Year One, though at the same time taking elements of another Frank Miller story, Sin City, especially when we get to the Holiday Killer's murder. I'm not going to grade this yet, I'm going to do that when we get to the whole series, but I'll say that this is a pretty good start on one of Batman's greatest mysteries.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And for the next theme, well, we're going to be continuing the theme of mystery and trust in IDW's Transformers. Yeah, we're going back to that.
Bizarro, we have a problem.
Ah, shit. Well, happy Halloween, everyone. By the way, yes, I was always able to do that. I just never had a real reason to do it before.